everyone, this is Brian from ActiveMelody.com. Well, in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at electric lead in the style of the great Buddy Guy. Now, Buddy's one of my all-time favorite guitar players. He's crazy. You never know what you're going to get with him, and he's a real showman. And if you've never seen Buddy Guy play, definitely check him out. You can. I think he does a run every January. Or he used to anyway, up in Chicago at his bar. He's got a bar called Legends, so it may be something to check out if you haven't done that. But anyway, Buddy Guy, we're going to break this down into two videos. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the first half, and I'm going to show you how to play everything that I played note for note. I'll go through tone settings and all that as well. If you'd like to watch the second half, as well as download the MP3 jam track, which I have in two tempos, by the way. I have the tempo that I play, and I have a slower tempo if you're just kind of getting started. So you can check that out. I'll also put up the tablature as well as an on-screen tab viewer, so you can slow that down and loop it and all of that. So you have access to all of that at ActiveMelody.com. Just look for EP116. That's the lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and take a look at part one. Alright, so let's talk through tone settings real quick before we jump into the lesson. Now I am playing through, well, I have the Jimmy Vaughn Signature Series guitar. This is a Mexican-made Stratocaster, and I have the pickup selector switch right here between these two pickups, between the bridge and the middle pickup. The tone and the volume are all the way up on the guitar. The only pedal I'm using is a full-tone OCD pedal, and I have the tone and the drive almost all the way up. Both of those are at about 80%, and I have the volume on the pedal set at maybe 30%. And so that's what gives me... Actually, I don't have it on right now, but that's what gives me this nice nice growl, and that's what I used in the video. Now, Buddy Guy he often plays with a real heavy tone. It depends on the song and everything, but he'll keep a heavy tone going through either a pedal or through his amp setting, and then just back off the volume of the guitar. So if he wants something lighter, or if he wants it heavier, he just pull it up with his guitar volume. So anyway, that's what I'm using. Pretty simple setup. You can just play straight through your amp if you don't have any pedals, and just turn up your overdrive. But you do need to have an electric guitar for this. Trying to do this one on an acoustic, I think you'll kill your fingers. There's so many bends and things. Unless you've got a really light gauge string, like dental floss light. So anyway, let's talk through the song. Now this is in the key of G minor, so the first chord, actually let me switch off that pedal, I'll switch over to my tube screamer. It's a little lighter, I've got it a little easier to understand for the lesson. Okay, so the chords are G minor, and then there's a C7, all of this is in the tab by the way. Then there's a D7, and then we're back to the G minor. So that's the chord structure, pretty basic. And the first thing that happens it comes right out of pattern 1 of the G minor pentatonic scale. I should mention this. All of the licks that we're going to learn in this are for both parts, for both part 1 and part 2, are right out of the G minor pentatonic scale. So even though the chords change, there's a C7th chord and a D7th chord, you're staying in the G minor pentatonic scale for the whole thing. So that makes it easy. And this first lick goes like this. And that's something you'd hear Buddy Guy play often. In fact, I was watching some videos on YouTube trying to get some ideas for how to start this lead, and I saw him do that on something, and I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. I've heard Clapton use that, and a lot of people do, but very easy to do and easy to remember too. So here's how this thing starts. You start by barring the first 2 strings on the 3rd fret, and you're going to play strings 2 and 1. And then you're gonna, I use my middle finger for this, come up here to the 6th fret 2nd string, and I slide up to the 8th fret 2nd string. So what you're doing, this note actually matches this note. It's the same note. You're just defining the note and then sliding up to the note. Another technique would be to define the note and then bend up to the note. That's a little harder to do, harder on your fingers. So that's why when you hear guys like that sliding up, they're doing the same effect, but if they're playing lower in the registry, like down in here in like this G, pattern 1 position, you'll often hear somebody just slide instead of trying to bend that. Now, if they were playing it up here, they probably would do a bend. and that's because the tension is less and it's easier to bend up here instead of trying to slide into that note. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, now the next thing that happens goes, and so what I did, I actually used my finger instead of picking that. That's totally up to you, just to get more of a bright poppy sound. I hear that when I hear Buddy play. I don't know, actually Buddy does use a pick sometimes, but he also uses his fingers a lot of the time, so I'm not really sure if he would be, I'm not sure what he would do for that, but that's what I heard. So I'm just using my middle finger with my right hand to pluck that, and you get a brighter sound instead of, see how that's a little more mellow than, so anyway, that's up to you. That's just a nuance that, but that's how I'm doing it. Okay, so the other thing I didn't talk through, and I'll go through the timing. I know some of you struggle with when do I come in, and so the way that you would count this is you'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, and that comes in right there. So in fact, if we were to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it comes on the 4 and then when you slide into this note, that's the 1 of the next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So this comes in on the 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And actually, I'm sorry, it's on the and, so it comes in on the and between the 1 and 2 on that next measure. 1 and. Okay, so let's talk through those notes. It's on the 8th fret 1st string. We're going to do a full bend, but we're not going to release that bend. We're going to bend it and then we're going to end it. So remember that, bend it and end it. And the way that you do that is with your right hand. So once you get the note up to where you want it to be, just kind of mute it here with your right hand. Then once that's muted, you can release the tension. See, there's the tension release, and then we can play the 8th fret 1st string without the bend, 6th fret 1st string, 8th fret 2nd string. Now we're going to go back up. We're going to play 6th fret 1st string, 8th fret 1st string again, and we're going to do two bends this time. We're going to do bend and release, and then another bend, and then end it, like this. So you can see I bend it up, I brought it down a little bit, bent it back up, and all that's being done with the left hand. The right hand is just plucking it once. And then it ends it right there, and by muting the strings. Okay, so back from the start, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and. Okay. Now the next thing the next note does come in on the 2. So it goes 1, okay, so from 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that note comes in right on the 2. It's a full bend, and that's the 8th fret 1st string. And again, I'm doing that little plucking technique. Totally up to you how you want to do it. If you want to pluck or use your pick, but that's going to be a challenge, this bend, because it hurts. I'll be honest with you. My fingers are kind of sore from this lesson. You do that bend, and you got to hold it. So you bend it, and go. Let's see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's how we get out of the bend. So that comes on the beginning of the next measure. So you're going to hold that beat for 2, 3, 4, so it's going to be for 3 beats. 3, 4, and then that's how we end it. So to come out of it, we don't release that bend. We don't do that, although you could. That's another technique. It just depends on what you want to do. The way I did it, and the way that I've seen Buddy do it, 2, 4, he'll just bend it, and then he'll come out with that. And so that's the 6th fret 1st string, and then we're going to quickly come down to the 8th fret 2nd string. And that I do with a pick. So it's upstroke and a downstroke. Okay. Now, right after that, I played this little leg. So let me explain where we are. So we're in pattern 1. So we started this in pattern 1. Pattern 1 would be down here for the key of G. This would be your root fret. The 3rd fret is your root fret for the key of G. If you're making a G bar chord, major or minor, doesn't matter. Your bar is on the 3rd fret, so that's your root fret. So that's home base. That's why when you play that, the beginning lick, that's where it's coming from, pattern 1. And when we slide up here, we're going into pattern 2. Pattern 2, remember, is here. So these bends, that's in pattern 2. So for 1, still in pattern 2, still in pattern 2. Then I came back to pattern 1. Now let me show you those licks. So I use my ring finger on the 6th fret 2nd string, and then I came down to the 5th fret 2nd string, right out of pattern 1. Then I came down to the 3rd string on the 5th fret and did a full bend. Then I released that bend, played just the 5th fret 3rd string on its own without the bend, and then the 3rd fret 3rd string. So together it sounds like this. Alright, so let me back up and I'll count along while I play. I'll do the best I can to do both at the same time. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So that comes in on the 3. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay. So the next thing that happens is this buddy bend. You know, he always does these bends, does them often on the 3rd string. Okay, so let's talk through that. Now I start that lick on the 5th fret 4th string, and then I come up to the 3rd fret 3rd string, and then the 5th fret 3rd string. So that's the first 3 notes. Now as soon as I get up here, I'm going to slide up to the 7th fret 3rd string, so we go like this. And that happens pretty quickly. And as soon as we get to that 7th fret 3rd string, I'm going to do a full bend. Now notice I didn't pick it again. Now Buddy will do a lot of bends on that 3rd string. A lot of that's because the tension is a little less. It's a little easier to bend on the 3rd string, especially when he's up and doing these high notes. It's a little easier to do that than bending on some of these other strings. So that's the reason behind it. But okay, so after that bend, then I release it and come down and play another bend on the 5th fret 3rd string, bend and release, and then resolve there on that 3rd fret 3rd string. So let's back up. We have, and I'm picking that. Pick, pick, pick. Alright, so there's one more lick to play before we go to the D7 chord. And that lick sounds like this. I kind of crammed it in. Now it sounds really fast, and the notes are, it is pretty fast note-wise, but it's actually pretty easy to play, so don't be intimidated by it. You'll see that it's really just a series of pull-offs with the left hand and hammer-on. So what we're going to do to play that lick, we're going to start by barring the first 2 strings on the 3rd fret, and then I take my ring finger, actually I go ahead and take both of these fingers, my ring finger and my middle finger, to do the bend. But I keep the bar down and I do a bend here on the 5th fret 3rd string to match this note. So that's what you're doing. So you're doing a full bend. Now watch this. So those are your first 3 notes. Bend, string 2, string 1. Now watch this. So after you play that string 1 on the 3rd fret, there's a hammer-on and a pull-off. Now notice I'm not picking that. So I'm hammering onto the 6th fret 1st string, I'm sorry, 6th fret 2nd string, doing a pull-off on the 6th fret, which brings you down to the 6th fret 3rd string. And then I do a hammer on to the 5th fret 3rd string. So now after that hammer on to the 5th fret 3rd string, then I do pick and I do an upstroke on the 2nd string 3rd fret. So it goes. Now it sounds like it's really fast, but you'll see that it's, once you practice it a few times, that it's really not that difficult. Okay, then I come down to the 5th fret 3rd string, do another full bend, release it and play the 5th fret 3rd string without the bend, and then back to that 3rd fret 3rd string. So all together that lick goes. And then the final note, I think I came down and played, yeah I did, to resolve it. I came down to the 5th fret 4th string. And that's just sort of trailing, like as the notes kind of trail off. Just like that. And you can hammer that or pick it, either way. Okay. Let's play everything up to that point, and then from here on out, the rest of this first half is actually pretty simple. Okay, so from the beginning, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Okay, so now the next thing, this is where we go to the D 7th chord. And what I did there is I went to from this 5th fret 4th string, played the 3rd fret 3rd string, 5th fret 3rd string, those 3 notes, and then watch this, I just went ahead and barred the first 3 strings starting on the 3rd fret, but I slid it up to the 5th fret, and I played string 3 and string 1. Now when I played string 1, I plucked that with my right hand. So I picked string 3 and then plucked string 1. You don't have to do that. You can pick it. I think you have more control though if you start learning to use this hybrid picking technique where you're picking a string and plucking a string. It just gives you more control and it makes it easier. See how much less movement my right hand has to do that versus you have more room for mistake, I guess, with the other. Okay, there's that, and then I slid down and played just the 3rd fret. Did the same thing, strings 3 and string 1. Alright, so this last lick sounds like this. And the way that we start that is on the 3rd fret 1st string, with a little vibrato there, and that's actually kind of hard to do because the tension is so high at this point on the neck. So if you can give it some vibrato, try to do it. I even have a hard time with it, so normally I would play with my hand kind of free floating, but I have to kind of anchor it here with my thumb just so I can do it. So anyway, 3rd fret 1st string, and we're going to walk right down the pattern 1 of the G minor pentatonic scale. This is all these notes are going to come from that pattern. Then we're going to play the 6th fret 2nd string, 3rd fret 2nd string. Now I'm going to come down and play the 5th fret 3rd string, then back up to the 3rd fret 2nd string. So putting it together, we have. Now watch this. Then I'm going to do a bend here on the 3rd fret, the 5th fret 3rd string. It's a full bend. Then release it and play just the 5th fret 3rd string without the bend. 3rd fret 3rd string. 5th fret 4th string. So let's put those 2 parts together now. We have. There it is. Now watch this next little lick. That's an Eric Clapton lick, a little trill. is pretty easy to do. It's just going between the 3rd fret and the 5th fret, and it's a hammer-on pull-off technique. So we start by fretting the 3rd fret 3rd string, and I'm going to only pick this once. I'm going to hammer on there with my left hand to the 5th fret 3rd string, do a pull-off, and then I'm going to do another hammer on to the 5th fret 4th string. So it goes. That's what it looks like slowed down. So if we back up, we have. Now watch, this is how it concludes. And that's the 3rd fret 3rd string. I use my ring finger and come down to the 5th fret 4th string. And then I cram in my middle finger on the same fret, on the 5th fret, but this is on the 5th string. Play that note twice. So let's put it all together. We have. And that is how that D7th chord, that's how we resolve it to get it back to the G, or the G minor chord. Alright, so let me back up and I'll play through everything, and I'll only count it in, but I'm not going to count over it as I play it, so I can try and do it accurately. Alright, here we go. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's all we have for part 1. Hopefully you'll join us in part 2. If you're not a premium member and you're not sure if it's for you, I encourage you to go check it out. And you can don't just take my word for it. You can read comments from other site members, and you can see the value is definitely there. So you get all the extras to help you learn this stuff. And I have lots and lots of lessons. You get access to the whole archive as well. All right, I hope to see you in part 2.